I said something on Wednesday, which I'm going to pose again here just to have a jumping off point. And I'd be interested to know your thoughts, Serafina. I said on Wednesday that I think that this is coming to an end. I think that by the time July rolls around, at the very latest, this is over. Because I see a lot of writing on the wall that the Biden is kind of on his last legs of being okay with this happening. He's already started to condition aid. Netanyahu's telling him to go screw himself, and I just don't. And the protests that are ongoing aren't going to stop, I don't think, until the election happens. The reports came out today that the DNC is considering taking parts of the convention offline for fear of or online for fear of protests, which is the least democratic thing I've ever heard in my entire life. So what I mean, that's not true, but at least one of the most blatantly undemocratic things from the Democratic Party that I've ever seen in my entire life. So, Serafina, do you think I'm crazy that this could very well be over in a couple of weeks here? Do you see this continuing all the way to November and past that? What do you think's happening here? Are you just like, I have no clue, this shit sucks?
Honestly, from the way that I've been seeing things and the way that, well, I completely agree by saying that I don't think the protests are going to stop. I feel like they would continue even after the election, depending on how the election goes. I'm personally nervous to see how this is actually going to go because I'm loving our choices right now. But honestly, I feel like they're getting to the point to where more and more people, because of the fact that this has been going on for so long, and because of the fact that we have things like TikTok, for one, that is documenting things that are happening right as they are happening, and so many people are know about it, so many people care, and so many people are like, yeah, no, we're not about to just sit back and let this happen. I feel like because of that, and more people are standing up, more people are saying this is enough, I feel like at some point it is going to come to an end. At some point they're going to be at literally back against the wall, can't go any further, can't do anything, because every single person is starting to see how wrong this actually is. Because when it first started, there was so much, I don't know about this, I can't take a side because I don't know all the details and we don't know about this. And speaking for myself, before October 7th, I had no idea that any of this was happening. No clue what was going on the other side of the world. Once that happened, that's whenever I was able to actually see this has been happening for decades, if not centuries. This has been happening. And so I feel like the more that people know about it, the more that people are speaking up about it, the more they're not letting these politicians in the slightest get any sort of peace, any sort of rest, anything of it. They're getting to the point now, and I feel like I might be wrong here, but I feel like that's part of the reason why Biden is getting to the point to where he's like, okay, this is starting to get to be too much because of the pressure, because of how many people are like, we're not going to vote for you. And he wants to get reelected more than anything else. And I feel like he's getting to the point to where he's like, this is starting to get to be a lot for me and for my future. And so he's seeing the error in his ways. So I do feel like we are getting closer and closer to an end. The thing that I worry about is if that end is going to end in a ceasefire or if it's going to end in the complete elimination of the Palestinian people. And that's what I worry
about. Yeah, I second pretty much all of that. When this first broke out, I said that Biden's response to this would be pretty harmful to him if this thing dragged out into the summer. And it's getting close to summer, and so
it's getting too nice out for
exactly.
Protest. Yeah, it's real good protesting weather.
Great protest weather, exactly. Oh, yeah. And I think Biden kind of thought that, this will kind of die down, or they'll find some sort of resolution. But he didn't bank on how stuck Netanyahu is, because
which is malpractice. It's utter malpractice. He has never, all of us saw this coming. Every single person who's been following this issue and said, Serafina, you're an interesting story because you didn't really follow it before it hit the mainstream here. And I've been following this for years, and it's just for years it's just been no movement on this issue whatsoever. But now that it's like you said, once you start seeing what's going on here, it's impossible to unsee. It's so clearly and obviously there's a correct answer. And the longer people get exposed to it, the more people who can go out and protest. Yeah, like it's tough, TJ. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, Serafina is a fantastic example of this, because if we had asked you what your thoughts were on Israel-Palestine like 2 years ago, I'm going to guess your answer would be somewhere between neutral to, well, Israel has a right to defend itself, because that's what most people thought, honestly.
More than likely, yeah. If I didn't know anything about it, I would have been like, well, they got attacked, and so now they're offending all of this, and that probably would have been my mindset, because I had no idea about any of it. I saw a lot of people when it first happened. A lot of people were coming out and being like, well, I stand with Israel. I stand with this. They have a right to do this and that. And then as more details came out, and as we started hearing stories from people who were experiencing it firsthand, we were like, oh shit, this is nothing like what we thought it was.
No, it's disgraceful that for all of our lives, the primary narrative for what's going on in Israel is Israelis good, Palestinians bad. That's all you need to know. Like that's it. Like it's Israel is a functioning, is the only democracy in the Middle East, although they hold elections in several countries in the Middle East. Iran is a democracy. They hold elections, but we don't phrase it that way, because and they're like, oh yeah, so this is a valuable ally we need to hold on to and everything. And these fucking savages in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are trying to put an end to all this. And if you don't look, and by the way, and honestly, most people wouldn't look into it further. Why would you? Like, it doesn't affect your life or anything. You don't know anything about that. But exactly what you were saying, Sophia, is that now that it's impossible to hide this shit, and also, not only is it impossible to hide, Israel's not even trying to hide it. John and I did a whole episode about this, that they aren't trying to hide this shit at all. They're just like, I mean, how many pictures do I have to see of like 4 or 5 IDF soldiers in a demolished house holding up a Palestinian woman's underwear? Like, how many times do I have to see this shit where we're like, oh, maybe these aren't the heroes we've made them out to be. Like, and that's not counting like the death and destruction and like just the joy, like the exuberant glee that you see from.
They truly enjoy taking people's lives, and
they love it.
You can see it. And like, this is so ridiculously obvious. I don't get how no one else is seeing this.
What do you guys think about this? Because all right, so back to I kind of, of course, what both of you said is that Biden is turning on this, slowly. Holy shit! It's not even a defiant, strong turn. He's like, I'm gonna withhold like laser guided missiles. You get everything else, but I'm gonna keep you've been bad boys, so I'm gonna take this away from you. Like, he's like inching his way toward. It's like, dude, rip off the fucking Band-Aid now. This makes you look worse. Like It's so funny because I don't know if you guys saw Fox News report. It was Stuart Varney. I've been watching a lot of that guy lately, but he was talking to some random House Republican, and they want to file articles of impeachment against Biden for not supporting Israel enough. And it's like, see, all that fucking work, Biden, like since October 7th, you have been what does he say, John? He has a quote he always says that I'm a Zionist. Like I think you know.
Yeah. I'm a Catholic, but I'm a Zionist. Like it's something. Oh, God. Yeah. Hold on. Let me look that up. Continue going.
There's some kind of quote he always says, like you can't be pro-Israel without being pro-Israel, something like that. But he's been saying this for what, like 6, 7 months, 8 months now. And the second he says, all right, I kind of got to draw the line when they're invading Rafah, the place they told them to, evacuate to. And I'm going to withhold a little bit. Immediately, like all these people were like, oh, I guess you're an anti-Semite. I guess you hate Jewish people. It's like, why'd you bother doing this, man? Like they don't give you props for this shit. So it is like he realizes how bad it's looking. Like he realized that, these are votes he doesn't have to lose. He's already lost a lot of them. And if he wants to help, and the sad thing is, 2 things are sad about this. One is that it's not about morality. Like it's not about like, this is the right or wrong thing to do.
That ship sailed a long time ago, TJ.
Long gone. And second, this is something John and I have talked about many times, that even if there's some sort of reckoning for all this, it's just going to be a referendum on Netanyahu. Like, it's not going to be about the nation state of Israel and their apartheid state against the Palestinians. It's going to be like, oh God, if we had someone other than Netanyahu, this wouldn't have happened, which is kind of the sad thing in my opinion.
And you just kind of drove up right to the problem here, is that the longer Biden doesn't cut bait, the less plausible deniability he has when he inevitably turns to blaming Netanyahu. Because that's the only way out for him, is to be like, oh, well, I stand by Israel, but it's become clear that Netanyahu is ruling as a dictator and is committing crimes against humanity, and he needs to be taken out. We stand by the people of Israel, but we cannot abide by the evil actions of Benjamin Netanyahu. That is the way out for Biden and the Democratic Party. That is the only one. But the longer you sit by and allow this to continue to happen, the less people are going to buy that. And as Serafina mentioned, and I've said this, I've been saying this since December, the longer this goes on, the more people learn about this, the worse it is for the powers that be. Because this is so clear and obvious. You've been lied to your entire life. Like, for everyone who gets exposed to this even a little bit, it's like, oh, I remember being told, anyone who thought this was anti-Semitic, but clearly that's not the case. What else are they lying to me about? And it will just get worse and worse and worse from there. And it really does blow. Like, I don't know what strategic advantage Israel offers us that is worth the ruling class risking outright revolt over this, because that's where it's going to get to. It's the only logical conclusion. It's not like it's slowing. If things were slowing down, I would buy it, of like, hey, maybe this will sweep over, but things are intensifying. Protests are intensifying. They're getting more targeted. It's going to get really bad for him every day that he doesn't cut bait with Benjamin Netanyahu. He's not going to like go full on anti-Israel, nor do I expect him to, but like, he needs to cut bait. Like, he needs to start just saying Netanyahu's a bad guy and we need to take him out. Like, he needs to turn straight Netanyahu like tomorrow. Like, that's the sooner he does that, the better things are for him. And I don't understand why he's dragging his feet, because everyone knows the inevitable conclusion.
I'm curious to know, Serafina, someone coming at this with fresh eyes. When do you remember, like, when it became really apparent to you? Like, do you remember like a certain event? Because what I point to a lot is that, you know, the fact that this is being broadcast all around the world, and that even people, because like you could always rely on legacy media, like, you know, CNN, NBC and everything, to hold the line for Israel. Even they can't do it anymore, which has been fascinating to see. And they what they end up doing is, it's not commendable, but it's better than it was in the past, where they're exactly who we were making fun of before. We're like people who invite the rapists to the family reunion. Is like, well, I mean, we got two sides here with good points. Let's see. We have the massacre, the Muslims side, and then, you know, we have we want our freedom side. I don't know which one. Let's duke it out in a free exchange of ideas. And there was a great clip from John. I don't know if we talked about this. This was a Pierce Morgan clip. Did we talk about that? Where he was. I
feel like we must have on Wednesday, because I don't know if I don't know if I've just talked about this so much with people because it's so funny. But like, that was. I mean, it was really good journalism. It was, and I don't say that about Pierce Morgan,
right?
Ever.
I never would have thought. So first time for everything.
What we're talking about? Let me see if I can find it. But by the way, while I do so, TJ, the quote from Biden. Was I'm a Zionist because as long as there is no Israel, no Jew in the world will be safe, which is just the weirdest thing for the president of the country with the largest Jewish population to say. So that is I forgot that was how it ended, because there's no more dangerous place for a Jewish person than Israel. Like, please tell me about a more dangerous place for Jews there. But yeah, so Stephen, do you remember like when any events or something you saw that I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but that may have started to turn the tide for you?
Man, I really think as the days went on, because I remember when I very, very first saw like everything that was happening, like I said, I was kind of like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. I see people that are like talking about it, but I don't know anything about it. And so I think it was whenever I really started to see, not only was I starting to see the lives that it was starting to affect, and on top of that, I thought about, now this is from a really, well, not really old, but this is from an old-ish Cat Williams show where he was doing a comedic show, and so he was on stage and he was talking about Iraq, and he was like, show me what the Iraqi uniform looks like. Don't worry, I'll wait. And I laughed at it at the moment because I was like, that's hilarious because it's true. They're not fighting soldiers, they're literally killing civilians. And when I first started seeing the videos of people whose houses were getting demolished, they were picking up their baby's like arm or something like from rubble and something, and I'm like, it made me realize, I'm like, he was way more right than I ever realized whenever I first saw it. I'm like, this is a situation where it's not even like, I don't even like really calling it I don't really like when
I don't like it either. Yeah,
people call it a war, and they're like, no, it's not even a war. I'm like, these are people that are just trying to live their lives, just living in their houses, and there's bombs being dropped on them. And the thing that really started to get me, the thing that started making me realize who was the actual victim and who was the actual person who was doing the harm, was whenever I started seeing them dropping those leaflets onto them saying, hey, we're about to bomb this place. You should move to this place over here where you'll be safe because we're not going to attack there. And then those people would move there, and then they would get bombed there. And it just kept happening over and over and over again. And when I started to see the pattern of it, and I'm like, they're just pushing these people closer and closer to the Egyptian border. They're trying to get them out of this country. And I was like, okay, so now I'm like, I can't act like I don't know this is happening. I can't act like, oh, I don't know enough or anything. And so once I started to see that, and I was like, this is happening in real time. They're trying to eliminate these people altogether and take their land. And I'm like, I couldn't avoid it at that point. I was like, I can clearly see what's happening here. And then from there, it just started to get worse and worse and worse. And I was like, yeah, every day that I see somebody say something about how their house was destroyed, how these soldiers came in and killed their entire family. I saw one story of this woman who, instead of the soldiers shooting her, they threw her from a 5th story window. And I was like, okay, so they just want to kill people. This has nothing to do with anything other than they want to wipe this population out. And so I want to say that was around when I started to really be like, yeah, I can see what's happening here.
Yeah, it's some dark shit.
It does, like just what you said. It's not very hard to see that. It's not. It's very obvious from you go, hey, this is where everyone was living. This is where they started bombing. This is where they told them to go. Then they can. Oh wait, they pushed them all the way down here. Oh wait, they're gonna bomb that. That's the place they want to. Where are they gonna go? Where are they gonna go, guys? You have any plan for where they're gonna go? No, you don't. They're just gonna die. Okay, I guess that's self-defense. Like it really blows my mind how anyone can see that and not arrive at the exact same conclusion you did. And that's what's so insulting about when people like Hillary Clinton go on the news, these students don't know the history or the context they're talking about. So first of all, A, Hillary Clinton, you're the one who signed No Child Left Behind, so that's your fucking fault. And B, there's no context. There's no historical context that would justify what we are seeing with our own eyes right now. Literally none. There's zero things that we could have learned in a history class that would have made it okay to ethnically cleanse this population. Because people are like, oh, is it a genocide? I don't know if it's a genocide. It's very well the start of one. That's for fucking sure. But I know with absolute certainty that what we are currently experiencing is the definition of ethnic cleansing. And so, that's what I use usually because that has just as much of an impact as genocide.
Yes,
a little more is way more defensible. But the claim that it is ethnic cleansing is way more defensible. But I'm glad to hear that that's what you went through there, Seraphine, and that's why young people are so much more adamantly opposed to what is going on because we and people younger than me as well don't have that historical context that was taught in Hillary Clinton's fucking history class. That is a lie. That is propaganda. There is no context that can possibly justify this. It's clear as day to everyone who can see it without the propaganda, and everyone who still has the propaganda clouding them just are lying to themselves at this point. They're seeing things with their eyes and denying that they exist.
Absolutely.
That's the most frustrating part about this to me is what we talked about. We've mentioned several times is I don't want to take a side, people. You've had plenty of time to take a side.
All right, guys, you've made it to the end of the episode, and it was probably maybe not the most well-buttoned episode, so this is me buttoning it. It's over. We had a very fun time talking today with our guests and went on a lot of different tangents. One of them you might have just listened to in this video. So if you want to hear more from our guests, Serafina, where can people find you?
Yes, so you can find me on TikTok at the Devil's Daughter 162, on Instagram at that same handle, and on YouTube at that same handle.
Thank you very much, Serafina. It was a great time, folks. We had a blast. We appreciate you joining us. Come back next time.